The 2013 edition of Mergermarket's Deal Drivers Africa reports a total of 115 deals with $26.6 billion taking place in the first 3 quarters across Africa. Robust M&A activity on the continent has been supported by increasing economic diversification among a number of countries, creating untapped investment opportunities. Joining us now from London for a closer look at the report is Vinjeru Mkawandira, who's a financial journalist at Mergermarket. Vinjeru, just taking a look at the report, no doubt positive insights coming through, especially with regard to mergers and acquisition activity on the continent. I take it this is a positive for us.
It's certainly looking positive for the African region. 80% of the respondents surveyed in this report think that M&A will increase over the next 12 months. And there's certainly a lot of interest from multinationals looking to expand their operations in the region. And we're seeing the rise of domestic and local players looking to grow regionally through M&A as well.
Vinjeru, just looking at some of the areas of interest in particular, they delve around energy, mining, as well as the utility sector. All these sectors are known to have a lot of volatility in them. In South Africa, on the mining front, we know that we're faced with strike action. Energy on the rest of the continent isn't so positive at the moment. Are these challenges or stumbling blocks that might pose negatively to the M&A activity?
Well, according to our data, these do seem to be stumbling blocks at the moment for investors, but this is set to continue on in 2014. But the continent is becoming a lot more diversified. We're seeing the rise in some of the consumer sectors as well as TMT. The largest deal in the region this year was from the TMT sector, and we've seen quite a few private equity consumer deals as well.
Just on the TMT sector, does this come as a bit of a surprise given the fact that TMT as well as the developments in technology haven't necessarily been Africa's stronghold previously?
Well, I think that what's happening is that investors are looking at some of the more untapped sectors in the region, and especially with TMT, you're looking at sort of larger inbound deals. For instance, with the Maroc Telecom deal, Middle Eastern investors as well as investors in Western Europe, and even within the energy, mining and utility sector, we're still seeing a bit of activity over there, particularly from some of the larger Asian economies such as China and India.
Well, M&A activity is always a good thing, but no doubt Africans need to protect their skills as well as their resources. Are there any ways that we can go about protecting our skills and resources in a positive light?
I think that within the energy, mining and utility sector, we will see a lot of increased partnerships between local firms and multinational players, and we are seeing local firms increasing their share of activity, and cross-border inbound activity is actually being dominated by some of the African firms. So we're seeing corporates with a lot of cash to spend in the region, and this will continue to drive partnerships between local and international firms.
And what about skills development or skills transfer?
I think that certainly within perhaps some of the more private equity transactions, we're seeing a lot more focus on what the private equities can give back in terms of skills and in terms of impacting the environment in the region.
Touching on private equity, their activities muted slightly in the year of 2012, going down from a previously stated 108 billion rand, or rather US dollars, to $1.2 billion. Any reasons behind the slip, or rather the muted activity that took place there?
I think a lot of it is investors choosing to remain cautious. I think that we will see an uptick in private equity deals next year, and we are seeing a lot of transactions, although a lot less higher value transactions compared to the same period in 2012. But this is definitely set to be on the rise, especially with a lot of the recent developments in the consumer sectors, and looking at private equities, not just within the region, but private equities around the world looking to capitalize on the high population growth.
Vinjeru, just looking at 2014, the year to come, what are your expectations regarding more M&A activity on the African continent? Could we see it increase or decline perhaps?
I think that we're definitely set to see M&A increase in the region in 2014, particularly from some of the firms in the faster growing Asian economies. We've seen Chinese firms and Indian firms play quite an active role in M&A in the region this year. 6 out of 10 of the largest deals on the continent involved bidders from China and India, and actually their share of total values of M&A has increased from just under a third to over half in 2013. So we'll definitely see a lot more activity between Asian and African firms. And definitely I think that the most interesting developments will be within the consumer and TMT sectors. These are very big sectors for the region right now, especially as we're looking at some of the trends with the growing middle class and the growth of the population, and people really looking to capitalize on this and grow their market share in the region, both for domestic companies as well as multinationals.